And this kind of brings me into the skill tree a little bit. So there's a huge difference in the skill tree. I think he said there's 7 different ways to customize your weapon. There's the length of attacks, finisher attacks, damage, and proc rate, distance you can attack somebody. And Steven ended up going with apparently like this damage beam. But you can spec the type of attack and the range. And I thought that was really neat because that adds a lot of versatility on your weapon, not even your ability, but your weapon. What are your thoughts on that?
I like it. So one of the things that I noticed, I didn't know if they said if it was 7 different ways for every weapon. I thought that they just said wand. I could be wrong, but I'm hoping that it's that many different ways for all the different weapon styles too, because that, like I said, I find weird character concepts that I like. I'll be like, oh, I'm going to be a mage with a great sword, or
Yeah.
like I'm going to play as a tank with a book, just stuff like that. So I really dig the idea that they're putting that much emphasis on weapon builds on top of your archetypes as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thinking by the book. I love it. Yeah, I thought it was really cool how they're kind of approaching the weapon thing, where they give you a lot of versatility, and the statements that they made where they said Steven was not exactly specking to overpower or focus his class spec.
Yeah.
But kind of chose some things that aren't in there, which kind of, rounds out your toolkit, right?
Yeah. That's actually
And-
where I was going to go on to next. Continue on that. That's a perfect segue.
Yeah, it kind of rounds out the toolkit, so you can be the jack of all trades in multiple ways. You can spec your class to be exactly a certain type of thing, and then with also having the ability to hot swap between range and melee weapons, you could then tune those to have exactly what you need that you're missing in both of those areas. So you can have a very, very, very diverse toolkit if you wanted to, or just go full tilt and lean headfirst into one specific thing with everything, right?
Yeah. And 2 things on that. One of the QA things were asking, what about a mage that wants to use a bow? And Stephen was essentially mentioning there's 3 primary weapon options, and there will be capabilities to do customization within the skill tree. And one thing that was kind of interesting is as you level up your skill tree for wand, it doesn't matter if you get a new wand, that is applying across all wands. So you don't have to start over just because you got a new wand. But the other thing that I wanted to mention that you mentioned with the being able to round out your abilities was that he mentioned basically the ability for, like, if you are a cleric or a bard, perhaps you might want to go with the wand and use a specific type of like skill to then allow the mage. Let me see. You may want to synergize your weapon and abilities, double down on an element, for example, or wand can be used by a cleric or bard to help set up the mage with T1 status effects to help them do more damage. That was from the live stream. I thought that was really cool too, because then you're adding in a bit of that support, but maybe you're also dealing some damage to be able to heal with that synergy. What are your thoughts on that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that actually, honestly, that kind of goes along lines with a lot of different play styles I like to do, because I like playing, a lot of PvP stuff, but I understand that I'm not the best when it comes to dueling, or I'm not the best when it comes to healer builds. So I try to find like these hybrid ways of playing. So being able to find those little cool crevices that you can just round out and become like an asset, but not a threat. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of like, that's like my main way of playing in general. So I loved everything that they said about that.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. You see, I'm going to be kind of caught. I really, really hope, because it was stated at one time, and I'm not sure if it's going to stay that way. It was stated at one time you'd be able to change your main hand weapon during combat. And I really like the ability to be able to do that, because I'm very situational. I like to be flexible. I like to be able to do all the stuff, right?
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
not all the stuff to the greatest degree, but if something comes up, I like to have something in my pocket to handle it. And if
Yeah.
we were to be able to run into, say, a dungeon that's weak to fire, I'm going to pack a fire sword, right? And or if it's weak to fire, I'm going to pack a fire sword. That means they're probably ice or water, or whatever they decide is weak to fire. And I'll just carry the opposite element protection on my shield, and then some people come along in their PvP gears, and they're geared up to fight the same stuff. So it's not going to be as advantageous as if I could switch up my gear, or at least my weapon, right? In the fight, or for that matter, just as soon as I walk out the door, I'll probably have I'll have a bunch of weapons. Put it that way, I'll have a bunch of weapons. They're going to be all set up with different skills that I've learned for them.
Yeah. And the other cool thing is they mentioned that weapon effect swaps with the element. So as he's fighting, you can see as he's using something ice, it's got that light blue ice effect, but then fire goes to that nice red effect. And the elemental empowerment now also has the correct status effect. So it sounds like that was a bug that they had fixed. I thought that was really cool too, because it's really enjoyable seeing I mean, if you even think about it from a PvP perspective, like if I'm going up against a mage and I see ice, I know that they're about to hit me with some ice. Like, I like that. That begins to give you a lot of information just visually that's going to help you determine what are you going to do in reaction to that. Like, maybe you're wearing something that's like fire resistant, so you don't really care. But yeah, also they wanted to say that each weapon has a unique progression with it, and that the weapon levels about 2.5 times the speed, roughly, not official, but roughly, of your adventuring level of speed.
Mhm.
So you'll be able to level up a few different weapons as you go. I thought that was really neat too.
Heck yeah.
I see your build mage. Prepare to die.
And Bochi says, I'll be fine with weapon swapping if there's no macro for it, so it ain't so fast. And I'd be okay with that too. Just as long as I can have something where, if something else comes to threaten me and I have a weapon, I'm using a weapon that it's immune to, God forbid. Then what am I going to do as a tank? Stand there and shoot arrows at it in melee because my sword doesn't work?
Yeah.
That'd be real nice to be able to swap out to a different sword in hand.
Yeah. Oh no, I need to remove stream elements. My bad. I was gonna stream AFK Journey, but I didn't get a chance to, and the bot's still like sharing our link. Sorry, guys.
Oh no.
Go back with the weapon swapping.
Yeah.
Because I remember that too, where they made a comment about how there was going to be like a form of weapon swapping, but it wasn't going to be like an instant. Like there was going to be like a global cooldown for that. So now it's interesting to see where they're going to go with that, because Steven did make mention on how they have like, the melee and the range weapon options. And he made a comment about how depending on what skill you use, it's going to automatically use either your melee or range weapon slot for that skill. So it's kind of interesting on where they're going to go with that, if they're still planning on having some kind of weapon swap mechanic outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Realistically, I would even be okay if it took like a full second or two to swap a weapon. Like you hit the button to swap, or you drag and drop it on your paper doll, and it takes 2 seconds to swap it. I'm okay with that, even as long as I can do it.
It takes you 1 round to swap your weapon. One action to swap your weapon.
Yeah,
oh, there's a kitty. You're like, Dad, let me go.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in this portal.
Not portal trained yet.
Yeah, he's not portal trained yet. It's okay.
Not portal trained.